What are the benefits and significance of the verse, in the name of God, the most gracious, the most merciful? First, we need to know that starting any task with the remembrance of God is a powerful mental and psychological adjustment. Why is that? Because it creates a focus for a powerful start. Now, why a powerful start with focus? In existential psychology, we have a discussion where we say that humans need a sense of support and meaning. What does that mean? It means that a person who is connected to a source of power and a source of peace can advance their tasks much more strongly and effectively. Therefore, when we say Bismillah, the most gracious, the most merciful, we connect ourselves to a powerful and vast base of forces: power, knowledge, wisdom, peace, strength, and purity. We connect ourselves to this source and begin to do the same activity, which in itself creates a powerful mental focus for a powerful start. The point that exists is Bismillah, means conscious dependency. In Arabic, what does conscious dependency mean? It means I know whom I am relying on, I know in whose name I am starting, I know the power of the one on whose support I have begun. This conscious dependency, it is something we humans inherently need as a support. We all need a source of power. We all need to have a warm place to lean on during hardships, adversities, and life's problems. When we say, in the name of God, the most gracious, the most merciful, it means we have found this source of power, this source of peace, this source of guidance, and we have leaned on it. Through it, we perform our tasks powerfully and with focus. The point is that remembering God at the beginning of a task helps alleviate anxiety and boosts self-confidence. In psychology, our brain needs to feel supported. This means that if we have support behind us for our tasks, we can perform them much better, more systematically, and more organized. Even if we encounter failures along the way, because we have what is called support. It gives us courage and strength. Even if there are difficulties in our path, we carry out our tasks with greater strength. The next point is that after Bismillah, God mentions two attributes, Rahman and Rahim. Now, why are these two mentioned together? The first point to note is that Islam is a religion of mercy, meaning from the beginning of the Qur'an, everything is clear. Let me say in parentheses, these extremist groups that act in the name of Islam, in the name of Muslims, and in the name of God, commit murder and act savagely. None of these represent the face of Islam. If you want to see the face of Islam, the true face of Islam, come and read the Qur'an. Interestingly, God says in the Qur'an, Prophet, give this Qur'an to the people, meaning people can judge from its spirit themselves. Therefore, Bismillah, al-Rahman, al-Rahim is introducing an image of God, introducing an image of Islam. In the name of God, the most gracious, the most merciful. What is the difference between Rahman and Rahim? They have the same root, but a fundamental difference. The difference is that Rahman is widespread mercy. What does that mean? It means that God has considered mercy for all the creatures He has created, whether those we see or those we do not see. If a flower has beauty, it is God's mercy. If water has tranquility, it is God's mercy. If the air gives us life, it is God's mercy. Even within the dry stone, where we think there is nothing, it is still God's mercy. When you look at nature, at everything, at humans, it is God's mercy. This is the general mercy of God. Rahim is the specific mercy of God. What does that mean? It means that a special attention is given to certain people if they themselves desire it. Consider a container like a glass of water. How much capacity does it have? Then take a larger container. How much capacity does it have? The one pouring water into these containers pours according to the capacity of each. Okay, it depends on our capacity, therefore. Rahman and Rahim are two attributes of God, a general attribute and a specific attribute that exist in mercy, and Rahim, which are for certain people who can establish a special connection with God. And I tell you, this path of connection is not closed to anyone's soul, meaning all people can reach that peak of knowledge of God, all people without any difference. Therefore, it comes back to our capacity, it comes back to our effort, how much we place ourselves on the path of God's being Rahman and Rahim. A very important point that exists, and in my opinion is very appealing, is that Bismillah Rahman Rahim means starting with love, not with fear. The same image I mentioned, the image of Islam, is not an image of fear. It is not an image of excommunication. It is not an image of violence. The image of Islam is the emblem of compassion and mercy. God says, Bismillah Rahman Rahim, in this way saying, speak to me, remember me with the attributes of Rahman and Rahim. I am the God who has power. I am also the God who has knowledge, who has wisdom. Everything is in my hands. He could have said, in the name of the God who is very powerful, or in the name of the God who is very strong, right? But he says, Bismillah Rahman Rahim, saying, start the conversation with me. Entering the religion of Islam and reading the Quran should be done with love, not with fear. Essentially, a religion based on fear, like if you don't do this, you'll definitely go to hell, or if you do this, you'll definitely go to heaven. Yes, these exist, but it's about conscious fear, right? We have two types of fear. One that is due to various interests. This fear exists within us humans, but the fear where we know who we are facing, the fear where we acknowledge our own weaknesses, this is actually a positive aspect. It means that fear is not necessarily always bad. Therefore, when we say, in the name of God, the most gracious, the most merciful, it means, God, I am speaking to you with love. This is what God wants. He says, my servant, speak to me with love, not with fear, violence, terror, or arrogance. Therefore, the image we should present of the Quran should not be one of violence. The image that the Quran itself presents is, in the name of God, the most gracious, the most merciful. The next point is that mentioning God's name is an exercise for mindfulness in a state of security and psychological peace. Again, I say, all humans need support. All humans need a source of power. When we consciously recognize the name, meaning with awareness, meaning we should know God's names, meaning we should know God's attributes. When we say, in the name of God, the most gracious, the most merciful, it creates inner peace for us. Why? Because it's an exercise for our mindfulness to see who God is, in whose presence we are, and this itself strengthens the heart. There's also a psychological point that mentioning God's name treats a scattered and stressed mind. A person who is stressed in their life is stressed because they don't know the goal, they don't know the adversities, they don't know what events might happen along the way. But a person who relies on God, who starts with God's name, their stressed and scattered mind is naturally healed along the way. In the name of God, the most gracious, the most merciful, is trust in the process of life. It means I know that a higher power has defined and designed a path, and I am placed on this path. I, who am on this path, rely on this process of life with the power that exists, and I have started with it. It gives me peace. I trust this process of life, no matter what twists and turns may be present. The next thing is, in the name of God, the most gracious, the most merciful, it gives you a sense of worthiness. A sense of worthiness compared to others. It doesn't give you a sense of emptiness. Unfortunately, in today's world, we have a mindset known as nihilism, meaning the person reaches a state of absolute emptiness. That sense of worthiness is not seen in it, but when we say, in the name of God, the most gracious, the most merciful, I constantly focus on this. We connect ourselves to that source of power, to that source of mercy, to that source of knowledge, to that source of patience for the servants. When we place ourselves on this path, we find a sense of worthiness, in addition to the fact that when we say, in the name of God, the most gracious, the most merciful, our hope is no longer in this person, or that person, not in individuals or people. Yes, we need each other on the path of life, because life is social and humans need one another. But our main focus, one, is not on people. Our main focus, is on God. Now consider a person who has some power and God, who is the ultimate power. If you rely on this, do you feel more valuable, or on someone who has limited power? Therefore, in the name of God, there are many messages, the most important of which is the message of peace and mercy. It is the tranquility that the Qur'an itself introduces. And I hope that when we are on this path of God, when we are on the path of in the name of God, the most gracious, the most merciful, we reach a profound peace of mind.